Hey guys, welcome back to The Generalist. This episode, I sat down with my friend Edel Kenny and Daniel Richmond. We talked about religion and dating. We talked about Ireland, about being deported, about me almost adopting her, and about living a simple life. Check it out. It was a really fun episode to record. I had a lot of fun. We talked about a lot of stuff, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know if you guys heard on the Facebook page or on my webpage, we finally got accepted by iTunes. So now we're available on iTunes. If you have a chance, you like the podcast, please give us a review or just a rating and subscribe. If you like the show, feel free to donate. There's a donate button through my website under the donate page. You can donate $1, you can donate whatever you want, or you can not donate at all and just enjoy the show. If you happen to be buying anything on Amazon, I would really appreciate it if you go through, again, the donate page. There's an Amazon link. It says Shop Amazon. Click on that. Anything you buy, we may get a small percentage of that at no extra cost to you. Check us out at thegeneralistpodcast.com. Any questions, comments, email me at thegeneralistpodcast@gmail.com. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to The Generalist, a show with a man who knows very little bit about a lot. A man who specializes in nothing in particular. A man who knows that he knows nothing. A man who can be described as non-specific. And to top it off, he narrates his own intros. This is The Generalist with your host, Saul Ackerman.
Should I speak with an accent?
No,
No,
please
you
don't.
really shouldn't.
Should I joke?
No.
Yeah, you could joke. This is not a serious thing. I mean, just remember that whatever you say is going to be likely aired. So
Okay.
if you're going to joke.
Are you gonna put my name on it?
Yeah, if you're going to participate. All right. Welcome to The Generalist. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here with my friend Edel Kenny and Daniel Richmond.
Daniel.
Edel Kenny is a amazing photographer. I guess amazing photographer.
And
That is my
Too
personal opinion.
kind. Way too kind.
Really not too kind, but you guys can decide for yourselves because she will be telling you her website and all that business towards the end of the podcast, and it'll be on the links in the show notes. And Daniel Richmond is a carpenter. Carpenter, is that the right word? Woodworker.
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 Carpenter is more so for construction.
Makes really cool tables and all sorts of things. Not really
Yeah.
just tables.
Whatever with wood.
He is in the
Reclaimed
process...
wood.
Reclaimed wood. So he's in the process of opening up a store online. Let's get started. Del,
Go for it.
you are an Irish immigrant.
I am.
Not a descendant of an Irish immigrant, an Irish immigrant yourself.
No, and I'm sure as the podcast goes on, people are going to notice this accent, but yeah.
I think it's already clear.
Okay, good.
What brought you to the United States in the first place?
So, I initially came to the United States, I think it might have been 2012, in Ireland. We have this automatic visa when you're a student that you can come to the States, work for 3 to 5 months, get your money, go back home, pay your college fees. It's called a J1, and a lot of people do it. You don't have to go home, pay your college fees. A lot of people come over here, just drink for 3 months and then go to Vegas and blow it all. But I came over here and I decided I want to come back over this some stage. So I came back over to New York, and I think it was like a year or 2 years later.
Yeah.
So, and now I've been here 2 years.
Although you weren't entirely here 2 years.
No.
You were at one point deported.
Make me relive the nightmare.
Yeah, no, I actually really want to do that if that's okay with you.
Yeah, go for
I
it.
would love to hear your story of deportation and re-entry.
Yeah. So I think actually, although it wasn't officially deportation, that's exactly what it feels like. Because I don't think the US actually deport as many people as the phrase goes. I think they might send people home and stuff. Basically, I was waiting on a visa. It didn't come through. The visa process to get into the United States is actually a lot more difficult than people would think.
Yeah.
And I was waiting on a new visa. I was told it would be 2 weeks to come through. And I said, oh, in this 2 weeks, I'm going to go to Colombia. I was in Colombia waiting on my visa, and it wasn't coming. I was staying in Colombia longer. It wasn't coming, and my mom said, you should come home now. And that process happened for an entire 4 months. every day, getting up, checking my email, seeing if a visa came through, going to the embassy, getting rejected. Then it came to a stage where I was actually rejected to ever come back here for a holiday. Well, a vacation, as the Americans call it. So, thankfully, in the last moment of despair, before myself and Woodworking Daniel just eloped, they told me I got a visa. So I got a visa like out of the blue. It actually took a lot of work, but it was like after a long process, and the last day that I could have got it, I got it. So now I am back.
What was the reason why you couldn't get it? Or just because it's really hard?
No, actually the main reason, I got a few reasons because I've been through possibly every visa you could go for, but I could not prove that I did not want to stay here forever.
Really?
And that's why. Yeah.
That's so interesting.
And off the record, but on record, I do want to stay here. So that was really ironic because you're in an interview trying to prove, yeah, I don't want to be there forever, but who's to ever say what you're going to do forever or not? So, yeah, that was one of the main reasons.
That makes sense. I remember offering to adopt you at one point.
We've had this, and this is a complete serious conversation.
Yeah, 100% serious conversation. I almost adopted this wonderful human being.
And my best friend, who's also currently in the same position as I was in last year. But I remember the last time we had this conversation was on 4th of July, and I left for Colombia on the 5th of July.
That's right. I think that's not when, that might have been when I found out that you were being thrown out, I guess is the word. What's the word if it's not deported?
Deported is much more harsh.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
know.
when-
Deported, you can't come back in, right?
Yeah. I think it makes for a better
this is
story.
just your visa just expired.
Yeah, and they wouldn't reissue it.
Right.
But yeah, so you did offer to adopt me, and I would have gladly.
As would I have, so long as it didn't land me in jail, which it probably would have. I mean, who knows how this shit works?
I think it would have been a lot more difficult than we expected. I don't think it was as easy as signing over some adoption papers.
No, of course, I would imagine not. And
me just calling you Daddy Saul.
Been awkward for so many reasons.
Yes, it would have.
So,
How was your adventures how were your adventures in Colombia?
Colombia is a world of its own. We did a lot of off the beaten track stuff.
That's the way to do it.
Got in some trouble along the way and ended on a bang in Bogota. So yeah, it was good. I probably would like to stay a lot longer.
It sounds like you're skipping a really interesting part of that story, which of course you don't have to share if you don't want to.
Colombia, I'm sure anyone that knows South America, there are parts that it's very corrupt.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Colombia, by the way, is much better than it used to be.
Yeah, but because we were like, I'll just tell the story.
Yeah.
Because now people are going to be listening and they're like, oh, what you do? And I don't want you thinking I did anything crazier than I have done. We basically went to this jungle and in seeking this like amazing beach. We were seeking this amazing beach. And when I went there, I actually travelled on my own and I met a guy who I consider a friend, a very good friend, who I'd previously met while I was travelling in Asia.
All right.
And so I met him down there, and he had been travelling on his own for the last 3 years. And we met up with some people. We met up with people from New Zealand, Australia, London. So we knew these people only a few days. He might have known them more, but I knew them a few days. We went to the jungle. We rented these hammocks. We were sleeping on the hammocks, and at night time, we were smoking the green stuff. And it's pitch black because there's no electricity. You're in a jungle. And next of all these flashlights were on us. And we were like, what the fuck? I don't know if can we curse in this? Or are you going to do a huge...
Yeah, you can curse, absolutely.
Okay. Well, so it was police. Well, who's to say they were police or not? I don't know what police are in Colombia.
Yeah.
So they were police and they were like, everyone give the passports. Meanwhile, to go back to the other story, I was waiting on my visa for America and my friend knew this. So I'm like widening my eyes, staring into his face and being like, do not make me do this because I need my visa to go back into America.
Right, yeah. Wow.
And he said, I don't know her, which is quite strange. Why is this girl in a jungle with a load of guys and one other girl and she doesn't know anyone? But he said, I don't know her. And they took all the boys, which was actually more stupid than I thought because it was me and this English girl left in the jungle on our own then. So they took all the boys and after a while we heard footsteps come back and one of the guys come back. He said, give me all the money. So they took all the money and we had to obviously leave the jungle the next day, but
But you had to keep your passport.
we got to keep our passports because we said we didn't have passports. And
Smart move.
yeah, but actually I was the only person from all the people we've met on our travels, I was the only person that never got robbed, because the village we were staying in was a very rural village. Like, they only had electricity for like some parts of the day and stuff. We had to travel for 45 minutes to get to an ATM in a very small town, which essentially meant that all the locals knew you were coming, and they would just wait outside the empty ATM. As soon as you took your money, they would just take it off you.
Oh, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, welcome to Latin America. Venezuela was very like that also when we were living there. One of the things you wanted is if you got robbed.
Yeah.
Not just robbed, but a lot of people would get, what's the word? Where they don't just rob you, but they actually take you and I had a friend, for example, who was, they were eating at a KFC, and these people came in, they sat down next to them, put a gun to them, said, okay, let's go to the car. They were driving a Ford Explorer at the time, a brand new car. And they brought him out to the car, and they separated the father from the rest of the family. They took the rest of the family with them to a place, and they took the father back to his own place, to their own house, to pick up and rob everything in the house. And they were in constant communication with each other, so if anybody would do anything stupid, they would supposedly kill the others. So, you have no choice. You just give them everything. Then they went to the bank account, and they took everything out of the bank, all sorts of stuff like that. And you assume in Venezuela very often that when you see a crime like that, that was done by the police. And you hope that it was done by the police, because at least the police are professionals.
Right.
And they're not going to start killing people for no reason. So, it's a good thing they were police if they were.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to, know, because you're in a jungle. Why the hell was there police in a jungle? But they were there, and they got our money, and they got our weed. So, they had a nice night.
I bet. Assholes.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in knowing, coming from another country, I did too, but still, it will have a very different view on this, I think. What were the differences, the major differences that you noted that you were like, holy shit, this is so different from home?
I think, and I don't want to offend any Irish people, I think Americans have a more positive outlook on opportunity.
Really?
And I don't want to be cliche, being like, this is the land of opportunity, but it is.
Was that your American accent?
That was my Irish accent. No, but I definitely think it is. At home, and I don't know if Americans know this, but Irish are famous for begrudging other people. They don't like to see other people doing well, and I don't know why that is, but it's just a trait within our culture. And I don't know, I kind of find the Americans inspiring. I actually just recently went on an interview. This is one thing that stuck to me. I interviewed with a guy whose dad happened to be Irish and he was English. So we were able to talk to each other quite easily because he'd done the same thing that I'd done. And he was sending me into a next interview with an American woman. And he said to me, okay, I'm going to tell you something. He said, you need to stop the way you present your work. And I think as Europeans, well, maybe not Europeans, maybe more Irish, we say oh, this is my website, but it's only started, and we'll put ourselves down. Whereas American people will be like, this is my website, it's the best, you need to hire me. And I just think that's really inspiring. I think maybe as children, I remember my mom saying to me when I said I wanted to do art and media and creative kind of things, she's like, oh, you should get something that pays, because media, not that it doesn't pay, but it's unreliable, and same with art. And I think American parents might be a bit more supportive of that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people would quote the same exact thing as a negative, which is interesting that you see it as a positive. It's cool, though.
Yeah. Grass is always greener.
Grass is always greener, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what got you into photography?
It was more so media. Media comes from a failed career in acting.
I did not know this about you.
Yes, I know you didn't. I was on TV when I was younger, and the reason why I'm not on TV anymore is because they had to keep asking me to stop looking at the cameras because I was obsessed with the cameras.
Oh yeah, you're not supposed to look.
Yeah, but I would always look at the cameras, and because I loved them, and because of the attitude that Irish people have, things like that aren't really a stable job. And I always wanted a stable job because I come from a family that's very uneducated. My dad didn't read or write. My mom's very uneducated, didn't finish school. So I decided to do languages, which lasted a total of 2 days. And then I realised I need to go back into media. I went into media and I've been photographing.
Have you ever considered going back into acting?
I have dabbled with reporting since I come to New York. But No, I think I like being behind the camera now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not a glam person, and I think media, if I was in Ireland, it might be okay because I wouldn't have to wear as much makeup and stuff. But I've worked with the reporters in New York, and these girls are pristine, and I don't think that's me. So
That's fair.
Yeah,
I think that's a fair assessment of yourself.
I think I'll bury that career.
That's fair. So what sort of photography do you do?
I actually started doing fashion photography, which I still do, but I'm kind of broadening out until to more commercial stuff, events, yeah, but mostly actually fashion. I mostly do blog work, but hey, if anyone's out there and wants to do editorial,
Oh, don't worry, you'll have time to promote yourself. I promise you. I mean,
shameless plug here.
No, by all means, shamelessly plug yourself like an American would. You have a website and it's the fucking best.
No, but I'm trying to get into more editorial stuff. So yeah, I'll do anything. I love being behind the camera. I love the editing. So I do pretty much everything. I actually photograph for Daniel's woodworking products. So I do product photography as well. A little bit of it. And food, yeah, I'm getting bit. Yeah, I cook my own dinner and then I photograph it. So I don't know whether that classifies as food photography.
What about what's her name who did the like gluten-free cupcakes and stuff?
Oh yeah, I do food photography.
Neve?
Yeah, Neve. Food photography as well.
So Didi. Didi is Daniel. I call him Didi. So if you hear me saying Didi, I'm referring to Daniel. What got you into carpentry? Carpentry. I'm sorry, woodworking.
Woodworking. I don't know. I started getting kind of, I guess, a little bit bored and lacking passion at work. And I had always, ever since college, actually, your cousin, Cassie, hooked me up with my first construction job in college. And I had been construction laborer and rough carpenter. And I kind of miss working with my hands, being was an assistant project manager at a general contractor, building retail clothing stores. I was really lacking passion, and I just wanted to do something fun for myself. So I bought a pickup truck and started getting some.
I like that your first move to
You gotta get a pickup truck.
To do woodwork is getting a pickup truck.
That's the first thing. It's all about the look. It's all about the look. No, it's function too. But I got the truck first, and then I started picking up some materials off the free section of Craigslist. Most of the stuff I make is out of wood, but I've been trying to incorporate some metal as well.
Yeah, so you made a table out of old pallets and copper piping. I don't know if it was copper. But
No,
it
it was just regular plumbing piping.
It was really cool. I really liked it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was so yeah, I get all my stuff from Craigslist or even just find it on the street, whether it's pallets or old studs from a brownstone, old shelving, really anything that people are willing to give away and throw out. I'm gonna turn it into something else. So yeah, now for the past 6 or 8 months, I have a wood shop now in Greenpoint, and I've made 7 or 8 pieces, and I'm looking to broaden my horizons, client base, whatever. If someone wants a bookend coffee table, end table, wine rack, it doesn't really matter if it's made out of wood and I'm willing to learn how to do it, I'll make it. So it's been a real release from the day-to-day 9 to 5 of sitting behind a desk.
Yeah, that's the worst. That's why
It really is just not for everyone. And I keep, trying to
I'm not entirely sure it's for almost anyone. I think there's some people who in a way really enjoy that.
Yeah, accountants.
For example.
Not even the accountants. I don't know. I was speaking to my boss at work, and she says there's something about this industry, this job, this high level of whether some people would like to call it anxiety or stress or hecticness that she thrives off of, and she likes it. And I just cannot see it.
Yeah, there are people who like this sort of thing, and it's something that's pretty bizarre to me. I can't... Yeah. I hate the idea even of having to sit 14 hours or 12 hours, whatever fucking amount of hours people do behind a desk, and for what?
A paycheck.
Yeah, for a paycheck, and for what? Because you spend all your time doing that to get a paycheck to do that more.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm not putting it down. I mean, if that's something that you enjoy, then by all means, go ahead and do it. But we have like this crazy culture of doing that. That's like what we do. We go, we make money, we come home, and then we spend that money on just our basics. And then, yeah, of course, people who make a lot of money are able to have some fun, do some other stuff. But a lot of them, I've noticed, from people I know anyway, are really stressed out, and they don't even enjoy their lives because they're so busy with their work, which is...
And they're working to pay. They're probably I found that I've been in this position before where I've been working to pay for my car so that I could get to work. And I was just like, this is insane. I ended up quitting the job, but like, how insane is that? Like, I was working to pay my car, to come home, to pay my rent, to drive, to go to work, and it was just pointless. I just quit and became unemployed, and it was so much more fun.
It is more fun. It's such a bizarre thing that we've developed here, and I don't know that it's particular to us, but
I mean, it's necessary. These jobs that people have are here because there's a need for them, and I think it's okay that not all of us are, built for the 9 to 5, sit in front of a computer, or listen to the man or whatever. But I'm happy that someone likes it, because those people who do that, they also help run the country and the world. And I need an accountant to sit behind a computer and help me with my taxes, or I need that construction guy to sit behind the computer to tell the subcontractor how to build a store so I can go buy a pair of pants, and then I can go to my shop and make furniture. But I need those pants because I'm not walking out without pants.
You need that guy. You just don't want to be that guy.
Exactly.
No, and I'm not putting those people down. The people who like it. What I'm more concentrating on is the people who do this daily kind of monotonous work and hate it. If you do this monotonous work, and I call it monotonous, those people won't find it monotonous. But if you do this type of work and you love it, then that's great. That's really, really awesome for you.
And we thank you.
Yeah, we do.
We thank you.
We'll dedicate this podcast to you guys.
This podcast is dedicated to monotonous work people who love doing their work.
Man, thank you so much.
And listen, maybe people look at the shit that we do and say that's monotonous, or it's annoying to stand all day building furniture, or standing trying to find a perfect picture, or doing this podcast, or Chinese medicine, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I get that. That's fine. Not everything is for everyone, and I'm glad that there are different things for different people.
I agree.
And I'm not espousing that shouldn't exist. It just sucks that it's become almost like not the only thing, because obviously here are 3 people who aren't doing that, but it's kind of the main thing that people are like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into XY industry, sit behind a computer, and put in information, or read information and then put it in somewhere else. And that's what most of the people do. And I think part of the reason is because we're kind of still working off of a model from the Industrial Revolution that I don't think necessarily really fits the way the world has changed since the Industrial Revolution. And another thing is there's not a lot of promotion of... I guess this is a kind of weird way to go, but I'm just thinking, it feels to me that in the past there was a lot more liberal arts in terms of education. And that's not really part of our education anymore. We've become a lot more scientific and kind of left the liberal arts, the classical educations aside. So people don't come at things with a wider perspective, which the generalist, boom, plug in my own podcast, to my own podcast. and I don't know where I was going with that, but I do that a lot, by the way. I forget what I'm talking about. But also...
more liberal arts.
Yeah. No, I know what I was saying. I just don't remember where I was going with it. I also think it's a weird thing where it's so hard to... And maybe I'm living in sort of a New York bubble, but I don't think this is just true of New York. I think it's true of most of the country, where it's so hard to keep up the rents and the payments and everything that you don't really have time to explore other things. And I think that's especially bad in New York, because New Yorkers, for some reason, just take it to the fucking extreme.
Yeah, it is definitely. I remember when I was moving here, I had a plan. First of all, I thought I was coming here. I thought I was going to work for a year, and I was working for this company for free. And they told me I was going to get paid, and I thought, like, this is amazing. I'm getting paid to move to New York. And I remember sitting thinking, I'm going to go somewhere new every single weekend. That's because I thought I was being paid so much money in comparison to what I would get in Ireland. And I came here, and I did not go away once that weekend, because I was paying stuff the entire time, and I just didn't realize it was going to happen. And even now, well, we both have loads of time to go off, but we're so consumed about next month's rent and bills. And we actually had a similar conversation over dinner. We've all just eaten dinner, and you are completely consumed about bills and what if I can't pay my bills, that you end up not being this, I don't know, exploring person.
You almost end up becoming this like zombie of the system, which again I'm obviously taking it to an extreme here and demeaning it because I'm having fun doing it right now, and I do that. But yeah, you sort of become a mindless, and not just the people sitting behind the desk. I'm talking about even myself. You become this mindless person. Make money, spend money, make money, spend money, make money, spend money, and not even like, oh, spend money on anything. It's like, well, you got to pay rent, you got to pay your bills, you got to pay this, you got to pay that. Before you know it, all that money's gone, and you go and do it again, and you don't really have time to go and do so. Not to say that I don't, because I do, and I think a lot of people do, but some people even can't. They can't get out of the back and forth of paying and making and paying and making.
Yeah, we're kind of a spoiled society. It's one thing I definitely learned when we were, I know everyone goes through a recession and it's like old news now, but I remember when Ireland went through a recession, it was the first time I'd ever experienced a recession, because I'm way younger than these guys in the podcast, but it was the first time I'd ever experienced a recession, and I remember not understanding why we were in recession, and I realised because my family didn't live a lavish lifestyle where they went on 3 vacations a year, or we had a 50-inch screen TV, and people get so used to having these things, when they don't have it, they need it, and they end up just working harder to get the things that they don't have time to watch or do.
Yeah, when I was talking to one of my guests, one of my first guests, talking about Tibetan Buddhism, and we sort of got into a conversation like this where he was saying that extreme wealth and extreme poverty sort of breed the same sort of attitude, where in extreme wealth you get so used to a lifestyle that anything you do to keep that lifestyle is considered okay, and in extreme poverty, because you're born in extreme poverty, anything you do to survive, and obviously this is again a general statement, but anything you do to survive you consider okay. So it's an interesting dynamic, and you're right, people get used to a certain lifestyle. I've seen people who are making way more than and I'm not saying they're making a ton of money, but they're making way more than maybe the average person, or maybe not more than the average person, but they're making a fair amount of money, something you could live on, say $90,000 to $100,000 a year, more or less.
Hey, I'd love to be making
Yeah, me too. I would love to be making that. But the point is, they're making that money, and they're freaking out about not being able to afford their bills and stuff. And it's very interesting to me where you get people who are making $20,000, $40,000, $70,000, $90,000, and they've all fallen into a thing where no matter how much money you're making, unless you get to a crazy extent, but no matter how much money you're making, you end up in this same kind of cycle where, well, I need to spend this, I need to keep my lifestyle.
because you live within your means.
Yeah.
Or they're not. You need
This
to live
specific
within
person,
Yeah.
this person definitely was. It's a fairly responsible person, lives within their means, but lives, I guess, no lower than their means.
Right.
Right.
And because people get used to that.
It's funny that you say the whole, what you just said about the, you do what you do to have to make money kind of thing. I remember when I went back to Ireland, when I went through the whole having to be sent back thing, I had an amazing year in New York. I had photographed Naomi Campbell. I'd done so much since I moved here for very early 20s. And when I went home, I worked as a cleaner in a hotel that was essentially for like social welfare. It was just awful. I won't go into details, but it was an awful situation. I was just a cleaner, and that's fine, but I just had this amazing year. And I had been a cleaner before when I was younger, and I remember none of my Irish friends had a problem with it. They were just like, yeah, you have a job. And I remember when I told my American friends, whenever I spoke to them on the phone, like, yeah, I'm back here working as a cleaner, and they just couldn't comprehend it. They're like, stop it. Why are you doing that? You can't do that. And it was like I don't know whether it was like a class kind of suicide, or whether it was like, I don't know, but they just had started living this lifestyle where that just wasn't acceptable anymore, or that it was just not a thing that I should be doing.
Yeah, I don't think that's fair. I'm not a big fan of people demeaning any sort of job.
Right.
Even though I just spent like the past hour demeaning working in front of a computer. But I also don't demean that. Listen,
you got to do what you have to do, and that
yeah.
was the thing that I was like, I need money. I need wine money.
Yeah.
So,
like I was telling you guys at dinner, I have a distinction that I like to make between money being important and money being useful.
right.
And I think that's something that's completely lost to our way of thinking. Money is useful, and that's fine, and that's great. And you can see philosophers like Lame Deer, for example, who's a Lakota Sioux, talk about stuff like that. Sure, and sometimes when the American philosophers talk about the way he talks about it, they say, well, he's talking about money being useful. It has a use. You can do something with it, and that's fine, but it's not important. But we live in a society where money is absolutely important, if not one of the most important things. People will lose their entire health trying to make money and then spend all the money trying to recover their health, which is ironic, but although I don't think that's really what Lame Deer was saying. I think Lame Deer was saying that money is stupid altogether, in my opinion. But there have been cultures in history, for example, a lot of Native American cultures, where money just wasn't a thing at all. They lived they lived in some sort of community. They woke up with the sun. They hunted. They fucked. They sang. They went to sleep, and they did it all again the same day. And not that there weren't any problems. Of course, there's problems. There's always problems. But it's not that it's an impossibility. We have fallen to a way of thinking where it's so, and we've been brainwashed is not the word, because it's not an intentional brainwashing. It's just because of our.
It's like a brainwashing of a culture.
Yeah, and I think every culture has its own brainwashiness, whether it be a religion, a culture, a group of friends. You have certain beliefs that come out of that. But one of the unbelievable things that have come out of our society is not only the brainwashing of the culture, but the inability to even consider the possibility that there is a different way.
Yeah.
And that's a really interesting thing to me.
It's actually, my parents live a very different life to me, and my mother's often asked me, like, why I'm so obsessed with money. And you know me, I'm not dressed in fancy clothes. I'm not obsessed. I don't think I'm obsessed with money.
I don't think you're obsessed with money
I like
either.
to save and stuff. I'm responsible, creative, but like I'm not in any way obsessed with money. But my mother, they grow their own vegetables. They hunt their meat. In the summer, they spend a week in a farm where they turn this farmer's turf for free in exchange for a year's worth of turf, which isn't actually that much for the farmer, but for them, it saves a lot of money. They swap their vegetables for eggs with dairy farmers, and they're not crazy into bank accounts, like.
Well, in the spirit of the grass is always green on the other side, that sounds fucking amazing.
Yeah, and it does. But I remember when they did that, I remember being like a teenager and being like, this is so embarrassing, because we wouldn't get yogurts unless they were on special in the supermarket, because my mom was like, that's so crazy when you can eat this food that we've grown for free.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Can you tell me a little bit more about what your experience was like growing up like that?
It was always there. My grandfathers were hunters, I remember my first memory of my grandfather is he got very sick and we were growing pumpkins, and I remember thinking he got sick on purpose because he didn't want to grow the pumpkins, but I was always around like dead birds and dead rabbits and stuff, so it was always there. But yeah, we would eat anything like wood pigeon, which I don't think I'd ever eat a pigeon out of New York City, but in Ireland I would.
I don't think that would be a smart idea. I'm not entirely sure they're made of meat.
We'll call them flying rats. But yeah, and I just remember being like open to eating everything, and it was you eat what's in season, and yeah, you get sick of broccoli after it's been pulled for the last 2 months, and that's the only vegetable you're getting, or zucchinis or broad beans. But when I look at it now, I think if I was to ever have children, I think it's the kind of life I would like to live. It's so simple. You're not obsessed with going to Costco. Hey, we love Costco's, but Dee's showing me dirty looks here because he loves Costco so much. But they had a really happy life, and it was very simple. They weren't constantly worrying where they're getting money from, because they weren't obsessed with getting, I don't know, a new TV or a new car. They actually bought their car and it was like overgrown with hedges, and they just spent a week cleaning it, and to them the money that they would have spent working their asses off for a week, they just put it into the car and then they had a car.
Yeah, there's a real beauty in that simplicity, and again, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm sure it wasn't easy, but there's something really appealing about it. Mm-hmm. in a romanticized way, I suppose, because I haven't lived like that, and I don't know if I would like it as much if I did, but I like to romanticize that I would. And there's a part of me that thinks I would.
I think it is, I think I can only stand to the fact that when I worked a full-time job and was earning a good bit of money, I was so stressed about money all the time, which is ironic because I was getting money. And now that I don't work a full-time job, I don't have steady income, it kind of is just come and go. I don't worry about money as much. I'm not as stressed about money, which is kind of ironic.
Yeah, I feel like the same thing happens to me. I think when I don't make a ton of money, but on the months that I make more money, I'm more nervous about money than the months where I don't, which is a really interesting thing. So it's kind of a loop that falls into itself. You make more money, you get more nervous about it. You make more money, you get more nervous about it. It takes away from that the beautiful simplicity, I think, which really appeals to me. And also there's another part to that sort of living that appeals to me, which is the connection to nature, the connection to the food that you eat, which we essentially don't have at all. We have this kind of, you go to the supermarket, that's where your food comes from. Most people I know have never killed an animal, which I'm not a proponent of killing animals for no reason, but I do think that hunting an animal for food, at least one time in your life, at the very least, gives you a better connection and understanding of what you're doing, what you're eating, planting the food, picking the food, all that stuff gives you a connection from what's happening to what you're putting inside of you. And I think there's a real beauty to that as well.
You actually experienced that last year because Dee Dee came over to visit me in Ireland, and we went shooting. We didn't actually shoot any animals. We were just, we went with the intention of shooting a bird, but we didn't get it. And I think in the same, or it might have been just in the same week or weekend, we went down to the harbour and there was guys there catching, I think they were just catching crab, and we bought crab off them for really cheap because they were just selling it to us off the side. And we had crab for lunch and it was amazing. And then they I think within the same week we went to a farmer's land who we know.
Yeah.
And we were shooting on his land. We're allowed to shoot on his land. We didn't catch anything. I think we ended up shooting some cans or a piece of paper that we found or something.
Well, it's fun.
But on the way back we picked blackberries and we picked some celery and stuff. I think that was the first time you'd ever experienced, whereas that was a normal thing for me to grow up, just to run over and steal some potatoes from the field down by the beach. And it was the first time that you'd be we were yeah, pick those and eat them, and you weren't washing them, they weren't coming in plastic, your mom wasn't washing them with vegetable cleaner and stuff. And you were, I think you were kind of anxious at first to be I'm just going to put it in my mouth, anything could have touched this.
Yeah, people are very, very scared of germs.
Yeah.
Because, and I think it partially has to do with the complete disconnection from, because if you're picking food from the land, you see, whatever, shit gets dirty, Also, in a similar vein, me and Dee Dee went to a bachelor party, as you know, of a friend of ours, and we went fishing and we ate that fish. And there's something so different about going to a supermarket or sitting down in a restaurant and eating fish than to fishing something yourself and then eating it. And
best fish ever.
First of all, it was the freshest fish ever. It tasted so good,
seasoned with pride.
Yeah, and exactly. There's this whole other level of enjoyment of the food when you worked for it. Not that we worked particularly hard for it. I mean, the fish came easy, but
it did actually.
Yeah, it did. I fished a shark, remember?
Yes.
7-footer.
What?
I put it back in the ocean because I didn't want to kill the shark for no reason, but I caught a shark by accident.
By accident?
Well, we were fishing for mahi.
Yeah.
We actually gave some to the guy who took us out. The captain, yeah. But it was so good. We only ate it
3 hours after we caught it.
We put some
put it
lemon
in plastic bags. We drove back, and then essentially right on the barbecue.
Yeah, we put some lemon on it, and then
I don't think we did.
Oh, the second day we might have put lemon on it.
Yeah, I think the first day we said it just tasted like it had lemon on it.
We smoked some cigars. It was great.
As well as not saying that it doesn't taste great because you guys caught it, because it probably did because you guys caught it. But when you go to the supermarket, more often than not, it's a solo experience. You're not going with your friends. It's not a memory. Can you remember? Unless something drastic happened, someone did something ridiculous in the supermarket, you're not going to remember a specific time you went to the supermarket and you bought an avocado or a fish. But you can remember that time you got that fish, and I think it's the whole social experience as well.
Absolutely.
That makes it so enjoyable and taste so good, because you're I'm having a good time, I'm with my friends, we're doing something together, and hey, we're eating.
And I think that's a historical thing as well, because I think when people lived in nomadic tribes, they generally wouldn't go hunting by themselves. I think they'd go hunting in groups. So yeah, there's a bonding experience that happens there, and it's a memorable experience. It's a whole experience. Eating would have been a whole experience. It would have been
a bachelor party also for us, so that was a memorable experience.
That's true. That did make it somewhat memorable on its own.
But yeah, even going to Ireland with you and your family, and just picking, I remember a stalk of celery, and you're I can go take a whole stalk, and it was, thousands of pieces of celery, and it was just kind of cool that, you kind of see where your food comes from, and it makes you definitely enjoy it or appreciate it a little more. You get to take a step back, and knowing where it comes from is definitely a cool thing to experience.
Maybe I'm just going off the beaten track here and becoming a complete hippie, but it makes you not want to waste things. I remember every Easter in Ireland, we went to a farm, and it was meant to be vacation, but we got up every morning to milk the cows with the farmer, and I sound like my mother now, but it makes you, like, when you eat a bowl of cereal, not want to leave that little bit of milk in the bottom, because you're like, I've seen where this comes from. I know what it takes to farm every morning. I'm going to eat it because he's done this. So that
I don't think that's well, I'm gonna say I don't think that's very hippie of you, but then again, who am I to talk? I think wastefulness is a, I don't know if I want to call it a big issue, but it's something we very much take for granted, and not just with food, even with water. I mean, I have a pet peeve myself when I go to, like, wash dishes. I need to, like, I turn on the water, I rinse stuff, I turn off, I soap everything, because I hate the idea of wasting water, because we think we have infinite amounts of everything. And yes, I am not going to finish the water on the earth by myself, but we use a shit ton of water. There's a lot of us on this planet, and we're constantly using water, and a lot of people don't have access to water in the way we do, but we use it so nonchalantly, and it's not an infinite resource.
Yeah. Actually, when I was in Colombia, I climbed to the top of this mountain. We were going to the Yogi tribes, which are they're the native tribes of Colombia.
Yeah.
And most people, I'm sure a lot of people know this, but I didn't know this until last summer. But a lot of the people that lived down in the non-mountainous areas of Colombia are not native Colombians. They're Spanish people who came in the Inquisition.
Criollos.
Yes.
They call them, yeah.
So we went up there, and I remember we had a bottle of water. We got to the top. I met the tribespeople. I actually went up there to photograph the children up there, and they had never seen a camera, so I was showing them the camera and stuff. And we had spent 4 hours hiking up there, and this one, like, local man had brought us up. We threw him a few dollars, and I said to him, I've run out of water, like, I need water. And he said,
At the bottom of the mountain.
He said, just drink out of the river. And I'm looking across the river. There's people washing in the river. I'm not going to go into detail, but other things had been done in this river. And then he just said, and just, like, so easily, just drink out of the river. I was very sick afterwards, but these people obviously drink out of the river every day.
Yeah, once your immune system is used to it.
Yeah.
And that's something that we all used to do. And granted, I think our water tended to be fresher in the past. And even in Colombia, I think it'll still be, in certain places, fresher than over here in the United States, where we have polluted a lot of the water.
Yeah.
Not necessarily on purpose, but we have. But really, that's true of the whole world at this point, I think, or most of the world.
Even more, because I know I went to Thailand a couple of years ago, and it's more, I don't know what the word is, but they've adapted to tourists a lot more. It's a tourist island really now. And
You're talking about Phuket?
No, I can't even tell you where I was staying, because we went with this random man from Bangkok. But I stayed with this host family, and they lived on this little floating raft, and they would float in the river, and they would tie up the raft, and the husband, they had an elephant, and they would walk with the elephant as well alongside the river. And I remember they had these two children. Nobody spoke English in this house, but they had these two children, Tiger and the other name I couldn't pronounce. One day the two children were going out on a smaller raft. They said, come with us. And without disgusting anyone,
Please disgust away.
My friend, I'll say myself as well, we're very ill the night before, and we realised when we went into the one bathroom on the entire raft, it was a proper toilet, but there was just a hole cut in the raft at the end of the toilet. So anything that was coming out, or going into this toilet, should I say, was going into that river. So then the next day we went onto this raft, and the boys, Tiger and his brother, were jumping out and swimming, and I'm like, oh no, like, I'm not getting into that river, because I know what's been in there. So they were like, come on. We're like, no, we don't swim. And the older boy, Tiger, went off for ages, and he had this kind of, like, cowboy hat, and he came back after a while, and we had seen him, like, here and there beside the river putting stuff into the hat, and he came back and he put the hat on the raft and got back onto the raft, and in the hat was all these snails, and we thought nothing of it. We just thought he was collecting snails. Mind you, he was 18, so we were just like, whatever, he's collecting snails. For dinner that night, they served us snails.
Amazing.
Out of this river. And I'm like, I can't do this. And I was just like, I was like, I'm just gonna eat a pineapple tonight, thank you. But like, it was.
That's funny.
They just, and this was no problem to them. They had no access to clean drinking water, so to them it was just like, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
So I think we're spoiled here in the US. Well,
We're 100% spoiled, and it's not entirely a bad thing. I think we have a lot to be thankful for in that way. But in gaining that, we lose something else, and that happens with anything. In losing it, we gain something else.
I think we lose a lot of appreciation. Can we pause for a second? I need to go to the toilet, or else you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Someone's
It's
coming
really
into
nice.
the room.
Going back to what we were talking about, I'm actually curious about if you feel there's a difference aside from what we already talked about in the cultures. Do you feel like life in Ireland is a little bit more relaxed than specifically New York? Because I know in a lot of places in the United States they're more chilled out than in New York.
Yeah, I think it's hugely different. I think it's also part of the population. Like,
Can you get a little closer?
yeah, I think it's hugely different. I think a lot of it's to do with the fact that this is a huge country. I mean, in Ireland we have, I think, 4.5 million people.
Right.
So it's a lot easier. Like, you're more likely to know someone that you're gonna be like, hey, I'm looking to get into this, or I'm looking to get into that. I just forgot the original question. What was it?
If you feel that it's more relaxed.
Yeah, it's more relaxed. I don't know whether this is just me, but I think that I'm more sociable when I'm in Ireland. But then again, I have a lot of friends, and I think we tend to have a lot more friends than Americans do, because we come from these small towns, and
Right.
we tend to keep in touch with people because people aren't traveling, I don't know, 6,000 miles to go to college or something. We all live at home, we're in college, and we drive 30 minutes a day to get to college. So we're friends with people from the age of 4 till the age of, well, I'm 24 now, so the last 20 years I've been friends with the same people, and you're still interested in what they're doing because you probably see them every weekend.
Do you feel like there was a negative side to that as well? Like, do you feel like you felt kind of cooped up or not really? You really
Oh
enjoyed it?
yeah, and anyone will say that. Anyone that comes from Ireland will tell you this. It's an absolute bubble, and you hate it when you're there, and you miss it when you're not there.
Yeah, I guess that's true of most, I guess, community type of things. Although not entirely, because a lot of people leave their communities and they're very happy that they left it. At least in my experience of talking to people. But that's more communities where they still stay kind of near the same area. But it's interesting when people leave an area, they're very attached to it. Like, for example, I left Venezuela when I was 14 years old.
Okay.
And I still feel a lot of attachment to it. And yes, it was its own bubble as well. Especially I was in the Jewish community in Venezuela, which made an even smaller bubble.
Right.
Mainly, you see a lot of socialization within the Jewish community. And it's very, very different than the American Jewish community. The American Jewish community is a lot... First of all, it's not as conjoined. The Venezuelan Jewish community is like really a community.
Okay.
Everybody kind of goes to the same school. It's a lot like what you're describing in Ireland. It's like really community. We had one place where we all hung out, but you still get to interact with people outside of the community. In New York, I feel like there's a lot of different Jewish communities. There's a lot of different points of views from those Jewish communities, and there's a lot more religion in Venezuela. The Jewish community was not at all religious, which also plays a part in it. But yeah, I feel like that's the thing that happens in cultures in general. You know, you're kind of you have your own bubble, and it's really nice to have that because
It's a comfort.
It's a comfort, exactly.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's overwhelming.
It's very overwhelming, and it's probably I'll say it to my close friends, but I think even now still, I suffered a lot of paranoia when I lived at home, because I was constantly paranoid that people were talking about me, or not that I was doing anything crazy, but no matter what's going on in your life, people talk. And we're from these very small communities where everyone knows your business, and even now I find myself not putting stuff on social media. Any of my social medias are business because I don't want people knowing what I'm doing. And I think that does come from a small community because everyone always knew what I was doing. And
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people, like my friends, have said, oh, such and such asked what you're doing. Or actually more recently, when I first released my website, and a very good friend of mine texted me and said, your ears must have been burning last night, which I don't know if that means the same thing here, but it means someone's talking about you.
Yeah.
And she said, your ears must have been burning last night. We were all in the pub. And straight away I thought, like, what are they talking about? Are they mocking me? And I wrote back to her. She didn't write back for a few days, which made me even more paranoid. And then she said, no, everyone said how great you're doing.
How would you? Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and I just realized how paranoid I am because I've grown up in this
Yeah,
small community
that's
where I
interesting.
automatically assume that people are, I don't know, not bitching, but talking about you. So I don't miss that. And I enjoy kind of being a not, I don't want to say a complete lone soldier because I have you guys here, but like I have friends here, and I just don't feel, I feel like sometimes the community can be a little bubble. It's not nice. You need to get out there and experience the world and
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
open your like.
And often community prevents you from doing that in a weird way. And I don't think they even necessarily do it on purpose, but it just happens.
Yeah, I have a lot of cousins that say like, oh, I could, and some friends as well, like, oh, I can never do what you're doing. And I'm like, well, why couldn't you?
Yeah.
Because, and I don't know whether they have this.
It goes back to the idea of we create a culture and we can think of anything that isn't that way.
Right.
And it works macrocosmically, but it also works microcosmically in that way. It's like, oh, I can never do that. Well, yeah, you can. It's just you have to just, have the balls, pick up and do it.
It's almost like you're a victim of culture.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I don't think you'll ever not be a victim of culture, because even now, and I think Daniel, Didi, you'll attest to this, like, there's certain things that I do now, and you'll know because you've just spent the last 2 Christmases with me and you're Jewish.
Yeah.
Like, I will not give up Christmas. We don't have presents.
You know what? Now I will not give up Christmas either.
Yeah. But, like, there's certain things, and I think, because when I came here, I'd never met a Jewish person. And
That's so interesting, and now you're dating one.
And now I'm dating one. But, and we've probably had an argument about it, but I was very defensive of my religion, where I wasn't fucking religious in Ireland.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden I'm defensive of my religion, and we
Yeah.
actually just we discussed this over dinner, where Saul said the word non-Jew, not because he ever says it, because he was trying to distinguish something else, and I hate the word non-Jew, whereas I'm sure in Ireland if someone said that, like if someone differentiates someone by calling them Catholic or Protestant, I'm like, whatever. But
yeah, no, but it's this thing, and I was telling you again, we were talking about it over dinner, and I was saying how that's one of my main issues with religion, and not any specific religion in general, and it doesn't just apply to religion, it applies to a lot of things, but religion is especially notorious for doing this.
Did we mention phones off at the start of this podcast, Daniel?
It's alright.
You would know you did not work in production.
It's alright, don't worry about it. It causes this sort of separation where it necessitates for you to say there's us and then there's them, and there's no way out of it. You can't be like, oh no, everyone's the same, but like we're Jewish and they're not, or everyone's the same but we're Christian and they're not, and that's a big problem. And it's interesting, I don't see that as much, and maybe these are my own biases, I don't see that as much in Eastern religions, for lack of a better word, like Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism. It doesn't really discriminate in that way, because you don't have to be a Buddhist to be a Buddhist, it's not really a religion.
Mindset more so.
Yeah, it's Taoism is the same kind of thing. You don't need to pray to any specific god. I mean, there is religious Taoism, and I'm not that familiar with the religious side of Taoism, so I don't know what that's like. But even within Taoism and Buddhism, there are different sects, and none of the different sects are like, no, we're the right one. It's like, no, there are different ways of doing this.
But that's what's so ironic about it, is when you look to the basis of every religion, everyone teaches the same thing, and for some reason we feel like we have to defend our religion as the one, whereas we're all kind of taught, and I know that certain religions have different amounts of commandments and the commandments vary, but we're all taught teach one another as you want to be treated, and we feel this need to defend our religion or segregate ourselves.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of the idea that a big fan of the idea. What I should say is, I always say that we often lose the message for the religion being the nitpicky, this is the way you do it, this is the way you do it, this is the way you do it, where you lose the message, where the message is really important. I think Judaism has a lot of wisdom, I think Christianity has a lot of wisdom, and I think almost every religion, including Islam, Buddhism, Taoism, Zoroastrianism, they all have wisdom to teach, and we often get lost in the details of, like, you have to do it like this, or you have to be like this, or you're gonna go to hell.
The
or you have to be
restrictions.
the restrictions, and we forget the entire message. We lose the entire purpose of the message, and that's bad. And then what happens is there are people who will leave the religion because of these little stringencies or things or ways of doing things, and they'll completely shun the religion, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I even understand it. I think I had a period where I was a little bit like that myself, but ultimately, I think it's healthy to say, you know what, there's something to teach here, and I don't have to follow it like I've been told to follow it, but there is beauty to it, and there is interesting stuff, and I'm not proposing that there is or isn't a God. I'm not proposing that one religion is at all in any way better than any other. But I think they have a lot of wisdom, and I think the best way we could do it is to be inclusive. Of course, I think that's actually impossible. I think we naturally make groups who go, okay, there's us three. Well, there's us three, and there's everybody who's not at this podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we naturally do that, but I think we can try to remain conscious of being, well, these people aren't any different from me. And when you try and look at things from somebody else's perspective, you gain a lot of empathy for them.
Right.
Yeah. I
think the purpose of religion is to create sanity. And I've kind of stood by, and I'll be the first to say, like, I aren't entirely sure there is a God, but for some reason I hold on to this Catholicism beliefs because realistically my entire country is Catholic, so that's just not only my religion but my culture at this stage.
Right.
But I've always stood by the fact that if you want to believe that a rat on a 6th subway in 59th Street is your God, as long as you're not hurting anyone else and that's making you sane, then you do that.
I've said this on the podcast before, but there's this saying that goes, there are many ways up the mountain, and every way is correct. The only way that's incorrect is running around the mountain telling everybody else which is the right way up the mountain. Right. So I think that's akin to what you're sort of saying, and I appreciate that. I think more people should, even if they don't believe, well, you know what? I'm not one to tell people what they should or shouldn't do. I don't know anything.
Yeah. I think it's something that your family's definitely kind of adjusted to over the past 2 years, D, with like coming to realization that you were dating a non-Jewish girl, and you as well. Like, there's been certain moments where you've had these like, and I have as well. I'm not saying that like you're the only one that had these aha moments, but
yeah, they're not really Saul and I had similar upbringings. We both went to yeshiva, both went to temple, bar mitzvahed, and we both grew up in a Orthodox/modern Orthodox family society. And for us to, all of our friends growing up, 99% of them were Jewish. And to be dating someone who is not Jewish, it's a little bit difficult for our families to maybe adjust to, because, it's very common for couples who are of different religions, for the most part, if it's, Catholicism, they usually lean towards Catholicism. We live in America where predominantly most people are Catholic.
Well, Christian.
I think, yeah. I'm sorry,
people
Christian.
Are Protestant.
Yeah.
Christian.
Yeah.
Sorry. But I think our generation, Saul and ours, millennials, we're kind of slowly breaking away. I mean, Saul can, back me up in this. Our group of friends, some of which went to yeshiva after high school, a strict school where they learned about Jewish law, religion, history.
It's kind of like seminary school, but you're not training to become a priest per se.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's where you have strict rules of eating kosher, and it was an all male school, strict guidelines of when to pray and when not to pray. It's what we're born, it's what we grew up with, and now most of our friends are very much so have steered away from that lifestyle. And for our families, they're worried that we're going to grow up not holding on to our traditions and history. But I think, Saul and I have learned, and so have our friends, that it's not as important to follow it to a T. You can be a good Jew and a good person, but we're concentrating on being good people, and we're concentrating on exploring our, I guess you can say, religious beliefs, and you can say, and getting to know new people, and definitely meeting you. And now that we've been dating so long, my parents have seen that you're a good person. You're kind, you're warm. You're welcome. You're kind, you're warm, and you're outgoing, and most of all, you respect their beliefs and traditions, and it's easier for them to accept you as well, because, it's just a matter of respect.
And you're lucky in that sense, I think, because I had a similar experience to you. This is what we were talking about at dinner. This is why I said non-Jew, because I was talking about a specific person that I dated for a while, and my family didn't necessarily react as well as Didi's family did. And it's a thing. It's definitely demonized within the religious Jewish community. I don't know outside of the religious one, but within the religious Jewish community, it's one of the worst things you could do is marry somebody out of the religion. And it's not, I don't think it's necessarily because they think any less of the people. At least, at the very least, I certainly don't think they do. But it's this guarding of the tradition. Oh, no.
Can you see, because I remember, this is my biggest problem. I understand that people want to marry within their religion because it happened in my country for a long time.
Right.
But I was so annoyed because I wanted to be with you. You had issues with it. And essentially, I was born to Catholicism because my entire country was Catholic. So I was like, you're judging me on something I cannot control. So I might as well be, you might as well be a white person and I be a black person. And you saying, I'm not going to date you because you're a black person.
I agree with you.
That's the way I could see it.
I'm hugely against that. I'm just trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, just because it's the kinder way to go.
Yes.
But no, I entirely agree with you. I think, which is why I said at least they don't think it's that reason.
Yeah, I know.
Because even though they don't see it, I think there is some sort of not purposeful, not intentional, and they don't even see it, but the idea of, they're not the same and therefore they're less. And I don't think they think that way or they're saying that, but you're implying it. You're implying it by agreeing with it. Yeah. And it's an unfortunate thing, and
I don't think they genuinely, it's not something that they've come to a conclusion of. Again, I think they're victims of culture, because it's something that you said about Jewish schools. You said, I would want my children to go to Jewish schools so they're well-rounded people. And in my mind, and I could completely understand why you would think that, because that's your culture. And in my mind, I'm like, well, that's crazy, because I consider myself a very well-rounded person. And I went to a Catholic school, and I think that wasn't you being ignorant. I think that was just you being a victim of culture, and I think that's what a lot of people are, is a victim of culture, because essentially religions are now cultures.
Very much so. They're very much cultures, because they're not... religions, for the most part, throughout history, are very much tied to their location. Mm-hmm. And people in that location practice that religion. It's not the way the world works anymore. Everybody's everywhere. So it has become very much a subculture of the major culture of wherever they are. And me being me, I'm not a big fan of that. I like the idea of everybody being kind of part of the same thing.
How did your parents react when you were dating, I don't know what religion she was, the girl? Or boy? We don't know.
She would have described herself as agnostic. But came from, I believe, a Protestant. I don't remember the exact sect of Protestantism it was.
Presbyterian?
No, it wasn't Presbyterian.
Okay.
But they didn't react well. And it was very tough on me. And it caused a lot of tension in the family. And me being the stubborn guy that I am, I didn't give in at all. We ended up breaking up for other reasons.
I mean, I hated her, but I did not give in to my family.
No, I didn't hate her at all. She was a very wonderful person, and for reasons that had nothing to do with that, or they did have to do with that, but not directly with that. It was because of I was a child, and right. I was still acting like a child, and I thought I was, but I wasn't completely away from the please your family, and I didn't realize that. I couldn't see it. It wasn't until I realized that I was doing that, until after, that I could look back and say, I was acting like a child because, and I think this happens to a lot of people, you still want to please your family. And I learned that it's a wonderful thing to please your family, so long as it's not at your own expense.
Right.
And that was a tough lesson for me to learn, and it was a very good lesson for me to learn, and I'm happy I learned it when I did, because I would hate to have to learn it in my 50s or 40s or,
yes.
So it ultimately ended, and that did have an effect on why it ended, but I didn't end it, and I didn't end it because of that.
Right.
Because I don't agree with that. But, such is life. It was a great time. I don't regret a single moment of it, and I enjoyed every second of it, and it was great. And now I've moved on to different things with a different girl who I'm very happy with.
And we love her.
All right, you know what? I think that's an awesome place to end it. Both of you guys, I want you to promote anything you have to promote. So why don't we start with you, Del?
So I take photos on my iPhone.
Amazing
no,
photos.
I'm joking. I have a camera. I am up to shoot everything and anything, bar spread eagle, whatever you're into. But I will shoot anything. And my website is www.edellkennys.com. Edel spelled Edelle, just because my parents wanted my life to be complicated. So.
But mostly you do fashion photography.
Yeah, I
food
mostly do
photography.
fashion. But you'll see when you get on there.
And you also have a...
Go to the website.
Yeah, go to the website. You also have an Instagram, right? Do you want people to
Yeah,
follow
my
you on that?
Instagram is @ like the little @ sign, Edel Caramel Kenny. So CARMEL.
That or is an R
Oh, sorry.
for the Americans listening.
We've just introduced a translator into this podcast, so there you go.
And Dee, do you have anything that you want to promote at the moment?
Soon to be coming, richwood.com.
All right,
it's,
it might actually already exist by the time this podcast is out, so definitely go and
Probably.
check it out.
Yeah, and he's giving me evil eyes because I have to finish off editing the photos for it tomorrow, which I was meant to do today, so it definitely will be done tomorrow.
So if you don't go to Edel's website, but you go to Dee Dee's website and you see the photos of these wonderful pieces of woodwork, also realize that you're seeing Edel's photos.
Or you can see the photos of the furniture on Edel's Instagram.
Yes.
They're connected in every way.
Collaboration right there.
Guys, thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome.
From
Thanks
coming
for
from
having us.
Astoria.
Enjoyed it.
I know how it is to drive from Astoria to Brooklyn.
Or a schlep.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Let's end this motherfucker.
Do we have a team tune?
There will be a song at the end. I'll play it for you after I pause this thing. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, rate us on iTunes, subscribe, check out our website, TheGenerousPodcast.com. Donate through our donation page if you can or want to. Use our Amazon link also in the donation page, also under each episode in the show notes. If you just click through our Amazon link and shop as you normally would, we get a small percentage. It costs you absolutely nothing. If you want to contact me for any questions or comments, contact me at TheGeneralistPodcast@gmail.com or tweet me at TheGeneralistPC. You can also follow us on Instagram at TheGeneralistPodcast. Otherwise, enjoy. Have a good couple of weeks. The next episode, I'm not entirely sure which one's coming out next, so check on the website under upcoming. Every week I eventually update which is going to be the following episode. It will be in 2 weeks. Enjoy. Thank you so much for listening.
Your what?
My shoes.
Oh, your new bands? Damn, Daniel Becker again with the white bands. What is this?
It's Palo Santo.
Palestine.
It's this tree that falls, and you have to wait 7 years to be able to get the sweet scent from it. Why? I don't fucking know why. I'm not a scientist.
Well,
God, I know people that don't work in production.
I don't work in production, although apparently I do. All right, so I think we do lose a lot of appreciation, which is. Sorry, I just did that because the beeping. Fuck it, I'll just look at it. Edel is going to use the toilet. That's how they say shitter in Irish.
You can open another beer one.
Brad. Back from the shitter.
That's how they say toilet in Irish.
Toilet.
It's like a legit studio, except it's in my room.
Yeah, I mean, your room looks like a studio, though. If I were to describe it in words for all the viewers listening, it's got green walls.
Viewers don't listen.
You would definitely know that he is a Chinese medicine doctor.
Yeah, definitely. Katana swords, some herbs laying around. Some are green, some are not green.
What are you talking about? I have herbs laying around?
I don't know. What's that?
That's called weed.
Oh, that actually is an herb.
Yeah.
It's not weed, though.
Oh.
I'm...
What's that?
I totally don't smoke weed, but if I did, I'm out.
It's